Hello and welcome to my studio. I'm Mary Rose Feldman and welcome to Free Class Week Mindfulness. For the whole week, for supplies, make this your own. I'm going to tell you what I'm using, if it's a round, if it's a square, if it's, anything like that, but adapt this to whatever you have at home or in your studio or just whatever's calling to you at the moment. I invite you to make these tiles your own. Okay, I am not offended if they don't look anything like mine. That's okay. Okay, this is your creative practice, and embrace your unique style. Today we're going to work on a Zentangle, which is round. I have a Zentangle branded Zentangle in front of me, but anything will work. What we're going to do today will work also in square, rectangle, journal, any type of size. It will adapt very, very easily. And I think that's it for now. We're going to jump right into it. Before all of the tiles this week, we're going to have a moment of gratitude and honor our mindfulness practice and the Zentangle philosophy to start with gratitude. Please make this however long you would like it to be or whatever you would like it to be. I'm just going to go ahead and take a couple deep breaths. For me, I like to sit nice and tall. Imagine my spine and my neck elongating. And for this step, we're just connecting. We're connecting our mind to our body. We're allowing those thoughts to come by. Just acknowledge them and then let them float by. Be firmly grounded in this moment of time. Our affirmation for today: I am strong enough to handle imperfection. And have your own moment of gratitude. Pause the video and come back whenever you're ready. Okay. Oh, that felt good for this morning. Okay, this is our affirmation before every class. I go to my affirmation deck and I randomly pull a card, and this is what came up for today's tile. A lot of people like to see the artwork and the tile that I pulled, so that's why I have it under camera. Okay, so we're going to start today with a Zentangle. We're doing 2 tangles today. I don't think we need to practice them. We're going to go right to our tile. Normally for these tiles, for all of Free Class Week, I wouldn't show you the tile ahead of time, but I also know that the tile is on the image of the video, so you're going to already have seen it. But just know that you wouldn't need to know what this tile looked like in the beginning. All right. We're going to do 2 tangles. We're going to start with pencil. Simple supplies, whatever pens you like to tangle with, whatever you like to shade with. No judgment on any of that. What we're going to do is put a channel down the center of this tile, whatever tile you're using. So I like to do this with pencil just because I tend to go a little angled when I do this. So I'm going to do 1 pencil line and I'm going to aura. So I'm looking at the distance and I'm just trying to keep a nice, relatively even aura in there, but nice and wide. We're going to put a nice big border in here. And then I could grab my pen. I'm going to tangle in an 05 or an 03. I may switch between the two. I will tell you if you need to be a thicker pen or a thinner pen. But other than that, grab whatever you would like. We're going to go ahead and trace relatively that pencil line. And when you're tracing, I'm going to pull off just a little bit on this. When you're tracing a line, our tendency, we want a nice relaxed arm, right? Our tendency is to go like this. But you can see that when I do that, it's going to make a curve naturally with our wrist. So what we tend to do is try to come down and fight that curve. And then you end up in a situation like this. And notice that I can't see my pen line anymore. And then it becomes difficult because you can't see what your pen is doing. So when you're doing something in this long line, I like to keep my wrist locked. So my hand and my forearm are a unit. And I move from my shoulder. You can see in the picture here, I'm moving from my shoulder. Okay? And that avoids the curve. So in a long line like this, I'm going to start here. I'm going to move up the screen just so you can see my arm. And I'm going to keep my pen just in a position and I'm moving my arm. And notice that when you do this, you don't need to stop and start as much. And when you stop and start, you kind of get the disconnection when you try to start again and you get the little pen dot. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if you're doing a line without moving your arm and then you have to stop and readjust and you go again and then you get that little bump right there if you're not careful. That one's actually not too bad. So usually if I have a distance to go, I'm moving my arm as a unit to combat the natural curve. There are times when you're making a curve that this is a benefit and works really well when making circles and things. But okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're doing a tangle called Gvin. I don't really know how to pronounce it. And it is by Mediette Lustenhauer. Okay, so in this channel, you're going to come and you're going to put a large zigzag. Now, I know that if I try to do this zigzag in one big line, I get a little wonky. So I take my time on this and do one line at a time. That's just for me. If you can do it all in one stretch, you may also like doing a zigzag vertically. Find what your hand is like, what your hand is comfortable with and likes. There is no judgment on how you get to that. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to look at the bottom triangles and we are going to aura, a nice skinny aura inside each of those triangles. Now, if you notice, I'm auraing the left and then I'm turning my paper to aura the right so that my writing hand stays nice and calm. Another way to approach this is to aura all of the left sides and then turn it and aura all of the right sides. If you don't like going back and forth in the moment. And that is not so I can rush. That is just so that I can get the rhythm of repetition. Part of the mindfulness of this is the rhythm of the repetition. Okay, so I have my regular zigzag and then my aura. I'm going to turn this upside down and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side with the other triangles. I don't think I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I am going at my own pace in these videos just to keep the length down. Please feel free to pause and go at your own pace and enjoy your pen strokes. I'm not explaining and then waiting. I'm explaining and doing and then going right to the next step. You're probably going to need to take a break and then go ahead and do your own tangling. It's all just for the technology and the length of the video. Okay, so we've got our zigzag and we've got auras on either side. So I'm going to turn this vertically, and I'm looking at the triangles on the right. We're going to do C-curve auras in there. And the C-curves, I'm going to start at the point. And my C-curve starts almost like we're going to do a crescent moon. And then these are kind of wide auras. And do that to all of the triangles on this side. Now, I don't pay attention to how many auras I get in each triangle. I let each triangle be its own entity. So truly just concentrate on that one C stroke. So you see I have a partial triangle that went off the page. Sometimes it's hard to imagine what you would see. A tip I heard from somebody when taking a class, and I don't remember who it was. It was several years ago. You can kind of imagine what would be there, but if you're having trouble doing that, you could take a scrap piece of paper and put that under your tile, and you can finish the image on that scrap piece of paper. And we have our auras too. And then you can continue tangling the whole unit off the screen. So part of this little triangle is on my tile, part is on your scrap, but I can see the whole triangle all at once. Put the auras in, and then when you take away your scrap piece of paper, that's what you have left. And I thought it was a brilliant tip for how to handle when things are partially seen going off the page. Okay, so I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to do the same auras on the other side. And again, I don't care how many I get in each triangle. And that's what we have. So in this border, you can choose to have your auras line up. So if this aura came down, it went behind, and it continued, and it went behind. I don't pay attention to that. Sometimes it happens, like here. It's pretty close. Sometimes it doesn't happen, like here. That doesn't bother me. So it's really up to you how much you want to be detailed on that and what opportunities are there for creativity. Okay, pause and come back when you're ready. I'm going to keep going. On the outside of this border, we're going to do a nice skinny aura. And you can see mine is pretty wonky, and I probably went off the screen because I had to watch my paper. I'm going to turn this way and do another skinny aura. So I'm moving my hand and I'm still getting a little bump and wiggle, and that's all fine. My motto that I say all the time is imperfections of your hand make tangling beautiful, make your art beautiful. We are not machines. Okay? So those imperfections give your tangling and your art energy and personality. Okay, so there we are on that. I'm going to switch to an 01, so something thinner. We're going to do a little bit of detail on this tangle. And I just took a deep breath, so if you need to take a deep breath, go ahead. We're going to add a little bit of detail to those C curves. Now, if you don't have a thinner pen, if you only have thicker, juicier pens, this step is difficult. If you're finding that you're not getting the result you want, just skip it. Because what we're doing here is an added detail. It's some rounding, but it's where shading is going to go. So your shading will get you a similar effect. This is just a little added bonus. So what we're going to do in this triangle, we have these C curves. We're going to come to the tips of that C curve. I'm going to go really close. So if this is your C curve, this is the outer curve, this is the inner curve. On the inner curve side, we're just putting a little bit of rounding. In magnified screen, if this is my C curve, this little corner right here, I am putting a little C curve and then I'm coloring it in. A little, so I'm rounding off that corner and I'm coloring it in. That's magnified. When you take it to this tiny, it's truly one pen stroke. There's not much you can color in. You can, I do it on here, I was doing it from the R line. You can come in from the C curve, whichever direction you want works. You might like it upside down. So the key is when you start to put your pen down on paper, you gradually put it on the paper and move. What you're trying to avoid, if this is your C curve, what you're trying to avoid is, whoops, sorry. See the little bump there and the little bump there? So what happens is you get that little bump and then you try to blend it with your pen, and then you end up with a further bump, and then you try to blend it with your pen, and then before you know it, your whole line is thick. The key to this is when you start to put your pen down to paper, you're not just going down and then moving your pen. You think of it like landing a plane. A plane doesn't hit the ground and then keep going. It is moving down and forward at the same time. So right here, I'm barely touching the paper, and then I'm fully in contact with the paper. Same thing here. When I touch originally, it's very light, and then I add pressure. And that's how you can manage some of these little details. It takes practice. So give it a try. If it's frustrating or you're just not getting it, go to the next step. I will tell you, even now, I'm trying to rush through, and I got bumps in there too. Okay. So there is the Gvin tangle pattern. When you are done with this, cap your pen, let go of your pen, and wiggle your fingers. What happens when you do details, I'm a tiny tangler, so I'm used to that area, but when you're doing details, our tendency is to really death grip the pen. Oddly enough, a looser pen grip gives you better details. So if you feel like you've been gripping the pen too tight, just loosen up your fingers, let go of your pen, roll your shoulders, just keep everything nice and loose in there. Okay, if you're still tangling, come on back when you're ready. I'm going to continue for our next tangle, which is our main tangle for our tile, and that is called For Fun, and it is by Mina Sao, which again, not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. It's Hsiao. Okay, so we're going to go through the step outs on this right on our tile. I'm going to pick an area, and my part of this shape is going to be behind my border, and I am just going to make a very large wiggly, think of this as a blob or an orb, but it's tucked behind my border. And I did that with an 01. I meant to switch to my 05 again. So we're going to darken this up a little bit. Okay, so it starts with this wiggly, non-perfect blob. And what you're going to do is on the edges of that blob, every now and then you're going to put a C curve and color it in. And the C curves do not have to be the same. They don't have to be evenly spaced. They can be more vertical. We want these to have energy. We don't want them to be mechanical or rhythmic. You'll get a more energetic result if they're all a little bit different. And once you have those little shapes, you're going to aura each one of those little shapes. So I'm taking off from the edge, I'm auraing and landing on the outer edge. And you can do it anyway, like that one's a little tethered aura. It doesn't matter. These auras are just as much part of the personality. So that's the tangle. When you do the next one, I'm going to aura the one next to it until I break off and then make another one. Then I'm going to do all my little blobs. So if I'm next to another blob, I'm going to aura its edge until I break off. I got a little point there. I'm going to round that off. And you're going to do the same on the other side. You can also call these amoebas if you don't like the word blob. They can be small, they can be larger. And once you have all of your blobs in there, you can go ahead and add the darkened shapes and the auras. This is a nice long tangling stretch, so I invite you to keep a nice calm pen grip, gentle pen grip. Check in with your body every now and then, take a breath. When you're adding in these shapes, the goal is not to fill up the edge. Leave lots of breathing room in between. This is not meant to look like crescent moon is all the way across the inside edge. It's meant to look like random placed dark patches that then have a cool little aura on them. Okay, so there's my 4 fun. I think I got everywhere. If you're still tangling, pause and come back. I'm going to keep going. So we are going to treat each half, the upper half and the bottom half, differently, because what I want to show you is 2 different ways to approach this tangle. When you first look at this tangle, it looks super simple. Well, it is super simple, but there's not a lot going on with it, right? It's an amoeba, or whatever you want to call it, blob, and some of these dark spots, right? We're going to treat the 2 halves differently, and I'm hoping to just spark some inspiration so that when you go play with it, you have some ideas in your thoughts. And I just realized that I missed one of the triangles, rounding it off, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, because I know there's some of you who saw that right from the beginning and were screaming at your video, you missed one. Okay, so hopefully that takes care of it. Sorry about that. Okay, so what we're going to do is just pick 1 half. I'm going to switch from my 05 to an 03. 03 is not as popular. It's probably my most favorite pen to tangle with, but it's a little thinner than my 05. And on this side only, what we are going to do is play with auras. So it goes like this, and I'm going to do one that you can see in full, like this one, because you can see all the edges. I am going to start, and I'm going to aura. So these are tethered auras, meaning they're wider at the top and they're skinnier at the bottom. But even if they're not tethered auras, it doesn't matter. I am just going to keep aura-ing the shapes, and notice I made that one higher. These are organic orbs. I'm sorry, organic or auras. They are not going to be even. I am just letting my pen fill the space. So as I'm doing these auras, they're going to start to overlap. And when I have odd spaces, I'm going to fill them in. Usually I will continue as if my auras were going behind. So in this case, this aura would go behind and continue, and then behind and continue, and then I'd stop. So as these start to merge, this becomes a play on auras and aura-ing. So this one I'm going to do more tethered. So tethered meaning it stays on the same line and then separates and then goes behind. Notice how I'm drawing in the air. So that one I treated differently than I treated that one. In this space, I just kind of filled in with auras. Let's see what happens here. And this is happening, there's not a plan here. I'm just aura-ing and deciding in the moment how to fill the space. When you're doing something like this, the less plan, the better. And then maybe on this one. So right here, I can decide to aura here or aura one of these two. So I think I'm going to aura the sides once and then aura the other direction, just to give me a different space in there. Okay, so that's what we're going to do with this side. I'm going to show you one, and then we're going to fill all of the 4 fun shapes on this side with the auras. But let me show you what we're going to do on the other side. Then we can have a nice long stretch of tangling. Again, I'm going to pick 1 blob. And in this case, I am going to aura each of those dark spaces twice. So I have one already there. I'm going to do a second aura. So each dark space has 2 auras above it. Once I'm done with that, I have all of this open space. And in that open space, I am just going to aura the whole blob. So I'm just going to keep following the edge. Some of it might be tight. If it's too tight, just turn around and go back the direction. Okay, so now I've got this big aura. I'm going to take a nice thick pen. Whoops. And inside that aura, I'm going to color it in. And actually my 08 is dying a little bit, so I'm going to get something that's a little juicier. This is the graphic one. Doesn't matter what you color this in. You can even color this in with an 01. But that last aura that we did that went all the way around, and that's what you get. So each of the dark areas along the edge has a visible 2 auras, and then the aura that was around everything is colored in. So you can take this tangle and make it dramatic, or you can make it auras. If you want to match the sides, go for it. If you want to make them all intermixed, so do one of these over here and one of these over here, go for it. But I just wanted to open the inspiration to other things that you can do with this tangle that seemingly looks like not a whole lot. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this side and I'm going to do all of my auras. Then I'm going to go back to this side and do all of the dramatic, and then continue on with shading. You can approach your tile however you would like. So if you have a blob that's behind that center, which we all do, that center border, I'm assuming that there's an edge there that has some dark spaces, and I'm continuing auras as if they were coming from that spot. Always remember to turn your tile to make your hand comfortable. It's a good time for a deep breath. Are you holding your breath? How's your pen grip? Nice and loose. And remember, when you're doing this dramatic one, you could make up your own rule. Maybe you do 3 auras instead of just 2. Or when you're playing with this on your own, maybe you combine the 2. You do a lot of auras, and then whatever space is left, you color in. You can see here I have a really tight spot. I'm just going to barely skim the paper to try to navigate through, and if I fill in a gap, it's okay. Nobody will ever know. After playing with this tangle, I think it's got some really fun elements to it. Okay. I've got all mine filled in, so I'm going to keep moving, and pause your video and keep going if you want. I'm going to keep going because we're getting a little bit long here, and I want to get this finished up for you. Okay, so I'm going to take my PN pen or something a little bit thicker, and before we shade, I want to come into the For Fun that we did the auras with, and I want to darken the outer aura of shapes. So let's say that you go, like you look at a shape and you what's the word I'm trying to squint? I couldn't remember the word. If you look at a shape and you squint, you can kind of see where the main shapes are that come forward. Like right here, when I squint, I see this one right here. And all we're doing is we're outlining the main focus ones. We're just trying to get a little contrast into those shapes to help our shading. Sorry, I had a little brain cramp there. I couldn't think of the word. And you don't need to do this to every single one. You just want to take away the lines, the auras all being the same. And that's going to help us in our shading. So I'm going to stop there. I could probably do more on this one, but again, I'm a little respectful of your time. I was trying to keep these a little bit shorter, and this one got away from me a little bit. Okay, so that's all we're going to do on that. You can keep going. You could see, though, how just putting one dark line in there to outline a shape has given me more dimension in those little blobs. Okay, so we're going to go to graphite. I have just my regular graphite pencil. This pencil's probably about this big right now, so I have it on an extender. We're going to do the border first, and all you're going to do is put a pretty good layer of graphite right along the edge where you did that rounding. I don't do the flat edge, I just do the triangle edges. So I don't do the edges on the border here. I'm just doing the V. I really do like how this tile came about, and I have a feeling when I designed it I probably got in the zone a little bit too much, because there's some nice long stretches of repetition. Take my tortillon. I have a paper stump actually, and I'm going to smudge my graphite. I'm going to go all one direction first so that my hand can get used to the repetition, and then I'm going to turn my paper and blend out the other side. In this tile, I wanted to show you a couple details. And I really wanted to show you how you can start with a very calm, simple line tangles and make it dramatic with different variations. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my pencil and I'm going to go on the outside of my border. And notice I'm not going over those big black areas because my graphite's going to get really shiny there. But on this side, I can actually go right up against. So I'm doing circles, ovals with my pencil. I'm going right up against that pen line. I usually do shading in 2 steps. This would be my first base layer, and then I would go back through and add my dark details, extra layering, and things like that. For free class week, I keep it very simple and just do the first layer of shading. But normally I'd be coming back in here. Okay, if you did the side that has the drama, I'm going to show you shading on both of these sides. For the side that has the drama, I'm going to put shading at the base of all of the little pairs of auras. So I'm just scribbling some graphite. You do not need a lot in here because there's so much drama with the black pen. Okay, so that's what you would do on that side, and I'll just blend one of them out. And I am going along the side of the inside of the blob a little bit just to separate it out. And then on this side, with your graphite, I'm going to lay a pretty decent amount of graphite right along the inside edge of the blob. And this, yes, I'm going over some black areas, but they're small. And then I will also lay a little bit of graphite where I might see some depth or overlap. Now this can go too dark too fast. So work in baby steps. Do the outline first. Blend that out. So I did the inner outline first. Then I'm going to come in and refine any layers. But you don't want to go overboard on this because then your whole blob is going to get dark. Notice how you keep some light areas and some dark areas. That's how you get contrast and depth. Okay, so you can go ahead and do both sides of that. Both sides of your for fun. And you'll see that as soon as you add shading to the inside edges of the blobs, the channels in between the blobs pop out. Whenever you want to make things brighter, put something dark next to it. So look how the channels pop out now because it has dark shading on the other side of the line. And the shading on the other side, I'm really just blending just a little bit. I'm being not fussy over there at all. You could make the argument to shade the inside, the whole inside. It just depends on how you filled in your black. I think there's opportunity for tangling with white gel pen on top of the solid black areas. So many opportunities on this side. And then I would come in and add a little bit of extra in the areas of my auras that won't make it too dark. And I invite you to take a little bit more time than I am right now. So you can see on this side that I have some bright areas and I have some dark areas. For my first round of shading, I think that's great. That's really all you need in a basic gentle tangling. I might come in with black colored pencil or specialty pencils and make things darker corners and things like that. But for what we have now, I think this is great and fun and cool. So let's go ahead and add our chop. Wherever you can find a place to add your chop. We've got a lot going on. And then make sure you sign the back. Okay. I'm sure you're still tangling, so make sure you come back just for the breath. So right now, let's just take a good stretch up. Wiggle those fingers. I worked hard today. We had a long tile today. The free class week, they will typically not be this long. We just got a lot of tangling in today. So I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you have a breath and a moment of gratitude. And I will see you tomorrow for our next free tangle tile. Have a good night. Bye.